Hello, everybody. We are missing one of our panelists, but we're going to get started anyways. I think we can manage. In the sake of brevity, I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves and then hop right into it. My name is Stefano Brugnerotto. I'm based in Washington, D.C. in the United States, and I'm building a blockchain-based software platform for drug distribution, focused mainly in the United States. How about everybody else?
Hi, I'm Alexandra Lexie Kolossov, and I'm the Executive Vice President of MonteCrypto. We're an advisory company for traditional and digital companies. And I'm the Senior Vice President of �W𝐞𝐝, which is an up-and-coming platform. Think of it as the LinkedIn of blockchain and crypto, where you can find and hire talent specifically for your company's needs.
I'm Clayton Thomas. I'm the founder of 𝐻𝐻 Wellness and the 𝐻𝐻 brands. We're a social commerce ecosystem with a foundational focus in health, and I don't like the term wellness because, as we'll go over, wellness is a little bit over sickness, but the creation of greatness through the designs of Dr. Christina Rahm, who's a Harvard nanobiotechnologist and a biotech savant. So it's blending the integration between science of what the allopathic community has and what we'd call in the United States the integrative, which is what real health cares about. So,
good evening, everybody. This is not my real voice. It's generated by artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, I lost it 2 days ago before the speech at ABC. I'm Adrian Niculescu. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. One of my principles is that if I can't run, I walk. If I can't walk, I crawl. So I'm crawling here today. Instead of saying, okay, I don't have a voice, I will not attend the event. I'm involved in blockchain since 2016, and I'm part of some projects as a core team member, advisor in about 15 projects. I also speak at events, publish a lot. I wanted to add a little bit of context to what we are discussing because we are between people involved in the medical field. So I had the 11 years of asthma when I was a teenager, became a marathon runner at 38 years old, and did 22 blood donations until now, and counting. Happy to be here and to discuss about this very important topic. Thank you.
So the topic, as you can see on our presentation, is how can blockchain affect the healthcare industry by 2025, which is a bit of an aggressive timeline for this topic, putting it mildly. To bother Adrian, since his voice is messed up, we'll start with him. I know you have a lot of experience in the Middle East, Europe, the United States, several different markets. Do you see a specific region that is most likely to have blockchain making a significant impact before the others? And everyone else feel free to chime in after.
First, what you said about a short timeline until 2025, I would say that it's a good timeline because now the decades for products and services are compressed. Even the time is compressed, you know? And from my experience, and this has to come from the government level, I believe that the government in Dubai is leading by distance these efforts. They started with putting things related to government on a blockchain. I don't want to enter into technicalities because I'm always looking at things from the business perspective, from the government perspective, and from how they can improve our life. And of course, United States is doing a lot of efforts, but it was at the beginning of 2021 when the market of events was open in Dubai, and it was closed like everywhere in the world. It was a shift for about 6 months when so many companies, brains went to Dubai to network, to attend events, and that was actually a foundational moment. Seeing Dubai is leading this shift in health. It's a disruption, and it's a thing which is good for us because it will improve our life, our businesses, our well-being.
So By 2025, the answer is yes and no. The problem is, and I'll speak to the United States markets because the global aspect is not one I'm completely familiar with. But in the United States, you have two industries that are the slowest to respond besides the government, and that's healthcare and the insurance industries because they're so massive, they're so large. So if you look at the traditional system as it's constructed currently, are we going to see any changes by 2025? No. You're trying to turn an iceberg with some fans and pushing water. So will there be integration with the blockchain and changes? Yes, because you have companies, and I'll say that from our perspective, being one that's extremely integrative and bringing in a new generation of health care. And I think over the last 2 years, globally, but really in the United States, people are learning that the old guard, the old system is not one that they can trust, but the ability to have access to information and all data is something that I think people are becoming well aware of now. So you'll have companies like Root, that will come into the market that will integrate with other organizations. We have a collaboration with the International Science Nutrition Society, which is a third-party research organization for tracking outcome data across all metrics and all types of companies. It could be pharma, it could be biotech, it could be medical science, medical technology, blockchain, it could be integrative health. And the blockchain actually provides a mechanism to track all the transactions, track data, share it properly, safely, securely, because you don't want to put people's information at risk. And it provides a perfect platform digitally to have everything secured. But the rest of the industry is not going to be anywhere close from 2025. I'd argue by 2030, they'll just be willing to start looking at the use of the systems because things are so slow and they're so large.
I mean, from my side, I think it's the trust of people that needs to be first taken care of when it comes to medicine and all new medical technologies or anything. And the thing is that comes with education. So the people do have to get educated because most people don't actually know what blockchain is. I mean, we're still quite confused about the whole entire technology, and it keeps on evolving all the time. And no matter if any type of product, even the product cycle, keeps on increasing, that's not going to help with anything unless that we have actually people that trust to want to buy the product. It's not going to help also with a trustworthy system. And even though we do focus on transparency and security in blockchain, it needs to come with also, your customers wanting and knowing that they saw the research you've done, and that takes years. So I also agree that till 2030 at least, we can actually truly integrate and truly educate people when it comes to blockchain and new products that come out.
I think I agree. Especially from the U.S. perspective, you have this significant problem of education, not only for consumers, but also for government. I'm sure you've had the same experience having conversations with congressional leaders, and they look at you like you're speaking a different language. They might want to ask you how to open their phone after the end of the call. And when you're dealing with an environment like that, it makes it difficult because, as you mentioned with healthcare and insurance being so far behind, when I'm talking to people at NIH and other organizations, the computer systems and hardware that they're using is older than I am. And it's a little bit hard to disconnect. Well, we're trying to not jump from modern technology to the future of technology. We're trying to jump from 30 years ago to the future of technology. And when you have that disconnect, it's a lot harder to kind of make that quantum leap. So my question for you, Clayton, is I know you have a bunch of different products in the pipeline right now. When you're looking at making significant changes in terms of technology in the healthcare space, are you thinking that these are 5 to 10 year outcomes and you're trying to plan for that? Or are you trying to more gradually bring something to market that's maybe not the next level of technology, but is a step forward?
In our world, as Adrian was hitting on, there are aspects of technology and through a global landscape of access to human capital, you're able to accelerate things really, really quickly. So in our perspective, you look at product development, which comes down to people. Companies, if they're fluid, as Bruce Lee said it best, be like water, right? If you have the right management and you're willing to integrate and do the work, you're going to be able to be progressive, which creates a really unique opportunity, because if everyone else is moving slow and you have the capability of moving fast, but doing it right, doing it strategically, not just running out and doing something stupid, but understanding the markets and having experience, because it's the unique aspect now of everybody being connected, right? It's the one thing that, with the integration of the blockchain and cryptocurrencies and such, is something that swept the globe really quickly, and it wasn't due to a phone call. It was due to the fact that everyone is connected now socially, through a multitude of apps, and using that for integration. And what we'll see is the old systems will eventually die. And we've seen this in all aspects of business. Healthcare is going to be no different. The systems are going to get deconstructed. They're going to fall apart. And there's cheers for that, because honestly, it's needed. Because if we look at the United States, healthcare is an oxymoron run by morons, right? Because there's no aspect of health to it, right? And you have to go in knowing that you can't negotiate with an old system and try to teach them the old dog, new tricks philosophy. You can teach an old dog a new trick. You can. It takes a little bit of work, but if they're incapable or unwilling, because there's a little secret to politics and healthcare, especially when it comes to integrating a technology like this. And the healthcare system 7.5, 8 years ago tried to institute the physician's quality reporting system, right? To look at, because there's the beginning of understanding that quality and cost metrics are really important, because the entire system is broken. They don't know how to fix it, though. The problem was they implemented one thing, and the next year they changed it to something completely different. The following year, they figured out that wasn't working either, so they tried to change it to something newer than that, and they scrapped the whole thing. So they know what a problem is, but they have no idea how to solve it, how to work with it, because it's out of their system. But until they figure out how they can monetize it, you won't see any integration, because both of those industries are all predicated on who controls the money. The problem with blockchain is the decentralization of a cryptic operating system designed to hide the cash flow. So you have to integrate and innovate. So that's going to be the fun part, and being in the belly of the beast and trying to negotiate in that environment and wait in the swamp is an interesting journey. Yeah.
So, Lexie, I know that you advised on a lot of companies that are not only blockchain, but also you get into Web3, you get into metaverse. And I'm curious, we like to, take a bad look at the way regulators look at things, but do you have issues sometimes tempering expectations for the people that are overly optimistic to jump in and affect change?
I mean, you know what? Not necessarily, actually, because we are quite straightforward. We tell you what's possible, but we tell you also what you're capable of also creating and what you can create. For example, recently we were talking to a hospital, and the blockchain system could be an amazing system for actually to integrate, all the database of every single patient that they have, and then have a wristband or a ring, or you can scan a person's nails or teeth or anything like that. And if they're in a different country and get into a huge car accident or anything like that, then the partnering hospital would have their data inside it. And that is all through blockchain, because it's secured also. So also, the number one thing, pharmaceutical companies would not have access to it. That is the number one part. So it will not be given away for, for profit, but it would actually just it would actually save a couple of people's lives as well, potentially. So the secure and the transparent system and the database system is what I think blockchain can truly be valued with when it comes to medicine. And then we can talk about how, of course, doctors can get into the metaverse, showcasing operations, and you can put on a VR headset all across the world. Every single doctor can attend their operation and watch and be there in real lifetime, feel as if they're there. But that is all yet still to come, because it is still just at the beginning, this technology. But blockchain, on the other hand, secure and transparent, is not. And that is very possible.
An open question to all three of you. I think we always come back to the education component, because you see a lot of high-profile collapses in the crypto side of things, and for the average person, they conflate the idea of their healthcare records or this or that having the same type of lack of security because of things they've seen in the news based on companies getting way too much money too quickly and burning everyone, right? So my question is, if you are working with regulators, this could be US, this could be Dubai, this could be Europe, how do you get past the conversation of how do you get the public to trust something that maybe seems scary, right? If you want to actually implement this quickly with something that has to do with patient records or other things that are, patient-centric, where they're actually participating in the ecosystem, how do you jump over the hurdle of negative publicity?
Basically, with Web3 and with everything related to blockchain, we are in the early stages of adoption. I would like to make an introduction before answering directly to put it into a context. When there is something new, technological or a business model which can or is proved to disrupt the market, you as professionals and your organizations, you have two opportunities: to become the disruptor and to start learning about this new technology, while some of you are what is called agents of change in your organizations, or to be disrupted. And many of the jobs are evolving right now, and some of the tasks will be taken over by artificial intelligence. So I believe one of our main goals as professionals would be to be very hard for robots to replace us. Very hard. This is one of my goals, to be very hard to be replaced by a robot. This means that you have to learn, you have to practice, and inside of your organizations to talk with the, CEO or with the board, and to explain which are the benefits of becoming a disruptor and embracing this technology in this case. Because if you don't do anything, sooner or later it will hit you. And because you are in this room and you are investing your most precious resource, your time, this is the first step. And after that it has to be executed, because if you receive some information and you don't do anything with it, will not have any results. And also look at there are entities, I believe, in every government related to digital transformation. And these ones are the ones who are handling also the regulations related to blockchain, and also post-blockchain. There are also post-blockchain technologies so ahead in the future. And you can become one of the professionals saying, okay, I want to be on top of my profession. I want to explore what blockchain is, to take 1 to 3 technical professionals to teach me from my company or from outside, and I can lead this transformation. I can go to knock to the digital transformation committee or organization at the government and become a key person to lead this in my country. Anybody can do that. But if you expect to be discovered, people do not, it will not happen. So don't be reactive, be proactive. And it will be very hard for a robot to replace you. This is a promise.
The educational component is the key. You gotta, we're seeing the same thing here. There's language that's used and misconstrued. You know, the general public hears blockchain, they think cryptocurrency, right? So they're like, oh, wait a minute, I can't trust the blockchain because I saw this and this and this, and FTX did a great job of, you know, providing an opportunity to give massive populations something to trust, and seeing how systems are built and how games can be played. So people are going to have to learn the difference between the two. But even, you know, in sitting in some of these seminars, Adrian, you hit on something that's really important of getting replaced. People hear AI, and they're misconfiguring what artificial intelligence actually means. You have machine learning that is able to process information very quickly, that gives us means of interpreting more data. We're the most powerful biological computer on the planet. There's nothing that's going to outproduce us unless we create a synthetic intelligence, which is not AI. So we have nothing to fear from an AI standpoint. What we need to do is figure out how we can massively increase our input, right, of gathering all the data. We have so many systems that create massive amounts of data. We don't have the capability of actually processing all of it, right? That's where AI becomes so powerful. Playing in the synthetic space, if we create a synthetic intelligence, a cybernetic organism that's more powerful from us, that can process information faster, that can tap into all of the information that is available, if it's able to tap online and gather everything and look at it, then we have a problem. We're not there yet. We're just starting to tap into what our true capabilities are just as humans. It's the fun part that we get to do from a root standpoint because of what we're doing to upgrade this operating system that we're in, because we don't even function close to what we're capable of. I mean, just to give you an idea, in the last month and a half, we had case studies presented by some of our doctors that with Olympic athletes, we saw a 50% increase in their reaction time in 2 weeks. That's unheard of. And this is a world champion fencer that in 2 weeks had a 50% improvement in proprioception and quickness. So if we don't even understand how to take care of this system first, being able to adapt to technology and actually understand technology is a completely different play. And it's going to be companies that lead with that, because it's not going to be the system that it is currently. We can't look at the insurance industry. We can't look at the healthcare industries and go, okay, I want you to lead me. That Steve Jobs was never the guy that said, you know what, I'm just going to go back to IBM and I'm going to do it their way. We wouldn't be here. So it's the willingness, like Adrian's saying, for the guys to say, okay, I'm happy being disruptive. And you can throw shots at the disruptors, but eventually you go, wait a minute, I want to be like that dude. So,
Doctor, if you can briefly introduce yourself, and I'm going to toss a question to you, put you on the spot with the last one.
For being late, but I was robed in something else before. I hear with particular interest what you're saying. However, I'm going to take it from a different point of view, and let's start with blockchain. So, the technology point of view, before we rope in legislation, regulation, should be there as a tool. And there I agree. It's a tool, it embraces what we're doing. It's a tool that embraces as well what we perceive as innovation. So consumer welfare and other sorts of welfare. So at the end of the day, it's always a tool. However, I think the optic on how you look at technology, irrespective of the output, whether it's AI, whether it's blockchain, whether it's any form of DLT, it can be blockchain 5.0, okay? It can be any form of technology, is on its use. And there, I mean, it's more than education. So you need to create something which substantially it's of value to you, it's of value to the users. Now, specifically on blockchain, unless you target that particular value to self-sovereignty, okay? And that is a very nice word to have, but then proving it in context when you have blockchain, when you have different forms of technology, Web 3.0, what do we really mean by self-sovereignty? What do we really mean that the user there is there to avail himself of technology, but nonetheless not be a captive of the technology or the actual developers or super users of the technology? And that is what blockchain is about. So from that particular optic, even AI, I beg to disagree on AI. The way AI is being captured, yes, America, Israel, UK, they're all planning to regulate, but they will regulate the output function. So yes, it's machine learning, but we need to distinguish as well. You have narrow AI, you have general AI. Now the tendency is as well to move towards general AI, particularly when it touches high risk. Regulate, and they regulate as well from different facets. So you have prudentiary, sandboxing, before the actual technology comes, because I hate to say AI, we don't know what AI is. There I agree. We have software, it has an output, it has some intelligence. In narrow instances, it can do better than humans. In narrow instances, however, a human is much more complex. Our brain is much more complex, it's much more elaborate. But in narrow instances, and this dates back from 1960s, there you have capacity which a human can't have. We can't absorb all the data, we can't reach instance decisions. We can't have as well interconnected means of absorbing knowledge, which an AI has. But at the end of the day, it's a human product, and it's meant to 𝐂𝐤𝐻𝐿𝐴, to improve human experience. So from that front, even regulation-wise, it's at the output function, risk, harm, how you perceive harm. Even that is very important, because how you perceive harm to a certain extent, okay, and how you factor that into risk is different, because there you're framing as well output functions. The same happens with blockchain. Blockchain, risk and harm were perceived with cryptocurrencies, bollocks. Cryptocurrencies are not related tokens, digital assets, are not related to blockchain, which is a foundational technology. Now, specifically on healthcare, so that I don't... Healthcare, and I will stop at this, promise. Healthcare, I think when you speak about healthcare, and I will tie in with my concept of self-sovereignty, you can't speak about blockchain and healthcare without mentioning an initiative which is unique in Europe. That is 𝐂𝐸IDAS2. 𝐂𝐸IDAS2 is going to introduce, and this is something quite novel, functional equivalence of ledger information, so DLT. It's quite unique. We are ahead of our time here, similar to what you had for signatures, electronic signatures. This is going to be for ledger, so even DLT. So functional equivalence of whatever is in a ledger. Not only that, you're going to have trust services. This, I think, is pivotal for health services, particularly on the self-sovereignty point of view. Particularly if we move with all these services for an enhanced pan-European digital exchange of health services, because we're speaking about health and DLT. There are no regulations there. So if you want to educate, you need to literally know where you want to go. So this goes beyond education. You need to anticipate regulation, you need to work with what you have, and to a certain extent, guide the regulators and the policymakers to an outcome where society will benefit. Regulators will benefit because they know what they're regulating, and they're regulating something which substantially will be meaningful, and at the end of the day, where the user will find his place. Let's stop at this.
In conclusion for our topic, I think it's safe to say there's a lot of ways that blockchain is imminently about to impact healthcare. 2025 just might be a little bit too optimistic. Thank you, everyone.